Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I'm Ratan Priya, and today I'm joined by Twinkle Khanna, best-selling author, columnist, and now a talk show host. She's back with a sequel to her hugely popular book, Mrs Funnybones, and I'll be picking her brain about that and much more. So, Twinkle, my first question is Mrs Funnybones still funny because life is absurd or because things are more ridiculous now?
Again, I don't think it has as much to do with changing circumstances as it has to do with being able to present the truth in a skewed way. It's everything in life can be seen as funny. Even at a funeral, you can laugh.
Yeah.
Um, Through grief, you can laugh. In fact, it's one of the things that will probably help you sail through it. If you can present the actual honest truth, but through a skewed perspective. And that doesn't change no matter what changes in the world. Having said that, I feel that we have been on a pretty even plane of ridiculousness. It definitely has not dipped down. Let's put it that way.
You've said that humor is your armor and it lets you put your word across. But would you say that you can joke about anything? Is there nothing that is difficult now than it was 10 years ago?
You can, of course, joke about everything, but then you have to face the consequences. And maybe the consequences were not as high 10 years ago as they are now. There are more restrictions. So you have to just find different ways of presenting your ideas in a way where it's palatable, but you still make your point. It
Yeah.
just takes a little bit more effort. And yes, sometimes you may have to drop an idea because it would be just tedious to then deal with the backlash. So if it is not an idea that is very important to you,
Hmm.
and you know it's going to give you backlash, it's worth dropping. But if it is very important to you, then you find a way of saying it and then you take that backlash. It's pretty much like that.
So you don't self censor much.
No, I do self censor. It would be foolish for me to say that I don't self censor, but I see the value of, I weigh the value of what I have to say against how important it is to me, how important it is to the world, and then I put it across. I may not be, as I would say, I would not take it as lightly as I used to earlier. In the beginning, when I started, everything was fair game and you could just say what you wanted and have some fun and make your point. Now you have to be a bit cautious, as we all know.
Okay. So I very clearly remember reading the first book, and I even today on my Instagram there is this this quote page where you said women live longer, men die early because they're just like sick of hearing women. And I don't remember the exact wording of it, but it was like really funny. And I was just wondering, why did it take you 10 years to come back with a sequel? I mean, I'm sure that these things were happening all around you. Why did you make us wait so long?
I didn't think I was going to write a sequel. When I did the first Mrs. Funnybones, I felt that, all right, it's based on the columns. I've done this. It's time for me to move on. The easiest thing for me to do at that point would have been to come out with a sequel. But I wanted to write different things. I wanted to write short stories. I wanted to write novels. I wanted to go back and study. I wanted to, hone my craft further in serious fiction. So I did all of those things. And when I finished my master's and I had Welcome to Paradise out, which I had worked on a lot of those stories during my master's, I saw so many people talking to me about Mrs. Funnybones and what it meant to them.
Yeah.
I've always had people telling me, that it helped them when they were very sick. It gave them hope. It made them laugh at the darkest times. And so I felt maybe it really does mean so much more to people than it has meant to me, because for me, it was, when you've already finished a body of work, you don't look back at it and say, let me bring it out into the world again. For you, you've already walked past that because you're then working on your next project. So once
Mm.
the column is out, it's out in the paper. I don't really look back and say, oh my God, that is amazing. I should have been able to do something with that further. It took other people to make me realize that maybe it has value in
Yeah.
this way to other people.
So, what would you say that Mrs. Funnybones knows now that she didn't earlier?
I think Mrs. Funnybones as a character, because it is a character, it's not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
She has the benefit of time anyway. She
Hmm.
does not have to react to situations in that moment. She probably can come up with that one liner. It takes her a week for that one liner. Whereas a normal person like you and me, we have to respond instantly, which is why we are not half as funny as she is, because she has
Yeah.
so much time.
Yeah.
The things that changed and didn't change, again, this book was supposed to reflect 10 years of, you know, altered India, altered feminism, and my perspectives that have altered. And what I realized, and it was only after I finished putting this collection together, is that the social, cultural structure of the Indian household has not changed. A woman's place in that has not changed. It's been 10 years and
Yeah.
it's exactly the same as it was. We have progressed when it comes to probably more women have a bank account today, they're more educated today.
Yeah.
But the way that we are stationed in our lives has largely not changed. Maybe for 1% of India it has, but for the rest of it, it hasn't changed. And that was one of the revelations that I, had once I put these pieces together.
And you have this essay on motherhood, Kal and Aj. And for you personally, what is the thing? I mean, mothers have to deal with so many things, and then now they are more on scrutiny because they have to be the therapist as well, and that really spoke to me because we have so many complaints from our mothers because we are like they were not as emotionally aware at that time, and even now that we are. So what do you have to say about that? Do mothers have to go to therapy and learn the language of their children? Because my mom doesn't think so.
She doesn't think so. What
Yeah,
does she
she's
say?
like, this is what it is, and I mean, this is what I've learned from my experiences, and you have your life, don't push it down my throat, that sort of thing.
I was actually telling my daughter this, and we had a disagreement when we were traveling, and I was wrong, and she was right. And I actually had to tell her that I said, do not expect me to be perfect. I am fallible. I'm as imperfect as you are. I'm a little more mature. I'm a little wiser, but I'm not perfect. So
Yeah.
don't expect that from me. Accept me for what I am. And I think that acceptance is what you have to also extend towards your mother. She
Yeah.
did the best she could within her circumstances, within her knowledge, within her time. So
Hmm.
much of who we are and our ideas were relevant at that time. That is what today, if all of you all go around saying, we think that, let's say, there should be we should recycle plastic, but it
Hmm.
didn't exist at that point of time. So then if you sit down and say, but 30 years ago, what were you doing? You were littering the beach, you were throwing plastic bags.
Hmm.
It's unfair because it wasn't there at that point, that concept. So what your
Hmm.
mother raised you with were the ideas that were relevant and accessible to her. Yes, we also, on the other hand, have a duty to make sure that our ideas, like that Nokia phone, don't become obsolete. We
Yeah.
have to reinvent ourselves. With this therapy talk, there's a little bit of a danger because most people are not really going to therapy. They're
Yeah.
looking at some
Heal.
sort of filtered version of therapy on Instagram and then repeating that new age babble. And that
Hmm.
is dangerous.
Yes, yes.
Suddenly, everybody goes around and says, you're a narcissist, but you don't even really know what a narcissist is. You haven't been identified as a narcissist because you have seen it on Instagram.
Yeah.
You are now coining that term and throwing it around people. So that is dangerous. So,
Hmm.
yes, we should all, I strongly believe, seek therapy because it helps us navigate our own mind and it helps us navigate our own issues. And so we are better parents
Hmm.
and better children. But this half baked Instagram psychology is a very dangerous thing.
Okay, now we'll go back to the book. That was nice. um, uh, as a writer, when I'm writing, I find it very difficult to, you know, not slip into the glib territory when I'm trying to land a joke and that sort of thing. And you keep playing with the form. You just do it. How do you? I want to know, how do you do it? How do you maintain the humor part and also come off as really really sincere?
Maybe I'm a sincere person who also likes jokes. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think about it in that way. I don't think about how it is landing. It's now become an unconscious process. I do know
Okay.
that I have a theme. I have a skeleton. I have a theme. My skeleton is very simple. They probably teach you the same thing in high school. I have an introduction. I have three main topics. I have three subtopics under each. I have a conclusion. Now, in that, the one thing that I do differently from most other people is I have very disparate topics. And my speciality, and the only gift I really believe I have, is I'm able to find common threads between very, very different topics. I once
Okay.
did a column that I was able to link an eclipse and Hema Malini and Shashi Tharoor. I actually did that. So these are three very different topics which I could link and I could find some commonality.
Yeah.
But that is the only thing I believe that is something that comes easily to me and maybe doesn't come easily to someone else.
Yeah.
In terms of jokes, I definitely do try to make sure that I have about two or three one liners in a column
Yeah.
because I feel it just makes it easier for people then to accept the other things that I am saying. They're
Hmm.
cultural, they're social, they're political. But I
Yeah.
like those three jokes. And more than anybody else, I have to also make sure that it's entertaining even for me. So if I'm bored reading that, what is my reader going to do? Earlier on, I had a technique where I would write my piece and then I would make the computer read it out in that robotic voice. And if it still sounded okay, then I knew I was fine.
Okay, that's a great tip. I will try that probably.
Used to.
So what is do you can you tell me if there is any literary tool or a rule that you absolutely abide by, and something that other writers should as well?
No, I don't have a literary tool. It depends upon what I'm writing. One
Okay.
of the things when I'm writing short stories or I'm writing novels, there's a book by George Saunders, and in that he says, why start a story on this particular day? And it is because it frames a change or it frames, well, an almost change. And I do think about that when I'm starting a story, at why I'm starting a story at that point.
Hmm.
So things like this do help me. Sometimes I think that the rule that I do really follow is because of so many years of writing a column, which had a deadline of 850 to 900 words, every sentence and every word in that sentence has to do a lot of work. So I became good at editing my work because I had only that many words. And I was
Yeah.
telling something the other day that Twitter really helped me do that because I remember in the beginning, Twitter had very few characters that you could use.
140. Yeah, it used to be 140.
Something like that. So I had to make sure that that joke finished in that 140 characters. That really helped my editing skills. Sometimes it's strange things. So I look at, I'm someone who likes to keep going over the draft. I don't ever like, one page and then I'm done and I feel that that's perfect. I like to finish, the first draft of an entire story and then keep going back again and again and again. And by the time I've done my seventh or eighth round on that, it starts getting, the sentence structure starts getting crisper. There's a cadence, there's a rhythm. I don't
Yeah.
like sentences which are, sort of very long or the same length for that matter. It's almost like
Yeah.
a song. You need the
Yeah.
pause, all of that. So yeah, those are just basic rules that I follow.
Okay. Um, what advice do you have for young women on aging?
Well, if you're young, then please go and wear bikinis and enjoy that body because you're never going to get it back. So if we spend so much of our time worrying about this little paunch here and this little cellulite. But, when you're 60, you look back at those pictures of you being 25, 30 and say, oh my God, I was so amazing. And I
Yeah.
just spent my time cribbing about it. I think the most important thing about aging is also having something, you keep putting something in your bank that you can withdraw later. A lot of young women, especially who are nicer looking, they only bank on what they already have.
Hmm.
And I would say youth gives you gifts freely, but takes them back very quickly. So if you start investing in yourself, in your mind, in your personality, in your skills from the time you're young, then by the time you're old, you have this really big reserve that you can use once, time takes all its gifts back.
Thank you. That was nice. Um, do you think your talk show was a success? And are you coming back with the second season?
In terms of numbers, it was clearly very successful because it was the most watched talk
Fulfillment,
show. Hmm?
personal fulfillment, and
Personal fulfillment, I feel that, no, do I feel like I was does it sort of make my soul happy? No, but it was fun, it was challenging for me. It pushed me out of my comfort zone. I'm not as comfortable in front of the camera.
yeah,
I'm not as comfortable kind of dressing up so much. And well, I would say it's every human being has different sides. So there is a more serious nerdy side to me, there's a frivolous side to me,
yeah.
and balancing both of them sometimes gets difficult. So I never say never about anything except coming back in the movies. That I say never, but everything else is open. I never look at any opportunity and I say that I am not going to do it, because every time I do something new, I learn. My neural connections get stronger. I
Yeah.
am a better person because of that. So I found it very challenging, and I learned a lot of things. And will I come back and do it? Maybe I will. I don't know. I haven't decided.
Lots of people told me to ask you if you still get offered movie roles. What sort of roles do you get offered?
I still, well, not all the time, but I do occasionally get offered work. I'm just not a very good actress, so I don't think that that's what I should be doing. I'm
So,
also,
what sort of roles are they offering you?
what sort of roles do they offer me? I got offered, um, I got two international projects. I had to play a Desi cop in one. I got offered a TV show where there was, again, it was an international project where there was a motel. They were motel owners, and I was the wife. I got offered, I mean, various things like the mother of an autistic kid. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, a journalist. I got
Okay.
offered that as well. A therapist. I got offered that as well. Yeah. So nobody's offered me an item song. I'm waiting for that offer.
Maybe that will tempt you into getting into
No,
movies.
I don't think so. It didn't tempt me then. It won't tempt me now.
I am actually, I also write a dating column,
Oh, you
and
do? What's
interesting,
it called?
it's called The Dating Story for the
Is it?
print.
Okay.
So, I wanted to ask you, what dating advice do you give your son? Or you don't give advice?
No, of course I do. Of course I give him advice. Um, Again, with your children, you have to see their personalities, and you have to then give them advice according to their personalities. You can't give somebody generic advice.
Hmm.
My son is a very kind person who's very soft hearted, and since he was a child, not just in dating but even with friends, with other people, I had to always tell him to have his boundaries, because he's so generous that can sometimes lead other people to take advantage. With my daughter, I tell her she has to lower her boundaries, and
Yeah,
she's 13, and she has to be a little less aggressive. So whether it's dating or it's friendship or it's just any relationships,
yeah,
that advice is pretty much the same. It's how you have to function in the world. It's not how you have to function only with somebody that you have a romantic interest with. It's
yeah.
just how you have to function with people in the world. So for him, it is get a little bit more aggressive, and for her, it's get a little less aggressive, because their natures are like that.
Okay, thank you so much for talking to me.